back. This is a one that I just basically started to open and look at. I've let the customer know what I think, so we have to do a little catching up. This is, I think this guy's from Alabama. This is a first Hawaiian Conservatortof Music Incorporated guitar. Invariably these are made by a few companies. I think he thinks this is made by Oscar Schmidt at the original plant in New Jersey. Guitars like this are so very similar. We'd have to look real close at the bridge and any other details like weird stuff up here. Some other clues are there's real binding on this top edge. There's a little plate on the neck heel. That's rather common. So the first thing I see is that this saddle is straight, and I go, whoa, that means it's Hawaiian. And I don't have my tape measure here. Too bad. It's a Hawaiian guitar. Now I loosened the strings. I'm feeling around under here. There's a brace here, and that's normal. And there's supposed to be a brace here. There's no brace. Back here there's a brace, and that brace is right where you see this hump. There's a hump here, and this dives down. Now the rule of thumb is when I project this line, it should rest on the top of the bridge. It's not doing that. It's very close to here. Now consider this is also sunk. If this thing was flat, this neck would be pointing almost to the bottom of the bridge where it hits the top. Now I checked the scale. I believe it's a 24-inch scale. And then I measured from here to here. That means if this is 12, this should be 12 3/16. Well, it's like 11 7/8. This thing is nowhere close. What you see, it was sold as a lap steel guitar, basically for students, in my opinion. So if this is off, it just changes where your eyeball goes here, and you play by ear and muscle memory. So pretty soon you've integrated this shift and you don't care. There are pearls inlaid into these little pegs as the binding. Now if you look, I looked at this and it was quite high. Being a Hawaiian lap steel guitar, this was raised up, and this was being high. This is a rather high bridge. Well, it was high, and not only that, the saddle was probably a little higher too. So what we've got here also, a crack here. The neck body joint is probably fine. They usually are. The neck is bowed just about a 1/64 of an inch. Probably, most of that is here to here, and then this does another weird thing. I've looked at this and tried to save the customer $100 in refretting, but it's got to be refretted because the fretboard is just not level. There's nothing left of these frets to be able to give anything away to try to take out 15 thousandths worth of neck bow. Also, the sound hole does have binding. The binding is flopping around. So it's not the bottom of the barrel. It's a student grade Hawaiian steel guitar. Notice this, the back has shrunk more than the sides. This is also common. All around here. Now it's also separating wherever it shrunk, so getting the back off will be important. The neck is was kind of V, but the V's been worn off, almost purposefully worn off over the years. It looks like it's been dented and somebody's just kind of scraped it back. This guitar probably was loud because this missing brace allowed the top to really get it. but the missing brace allowed the top to dip here. String pull, ladder bracing, missing ladder brace, so there's one here and one here. It goes, well, where can I go? I'm going down. I'm going to take the back off, most likely remove the bridge, because it's so far off I can't reposition the saddle, and we're going to put a pyramid bridge on it. We got a plan. The body is all birch, and our plan is probably to paint it black where required. This neck has a lot of mojo. There's no need to really deal with that. We'll deal with that when it comes. My deal is I'm going to try to do this for $400, not to exceed $400. Please don't take this as a rule of thumb. My like for these exceeds my ability to reason sometimes, and this is about a $600 job. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get a tip if it comes out well. The next thing that's going to happen here is I'm going to take the back off. We'll stop this recording and I'll get the back off tools. And here's what we use to determine that. Here's the straightness. Here's a real straight edge. We already saw it. It sits on there. This thing is 13 or 14 thousandths, and it easily goes under these frets here. And there's nothing in the way. The neck is just bowed so badly. It's 1 7/8 wide. It's the ultimate finger picker's neck. This makes the guitar worth. I like this guitar. I believe he valued it at least $200 in its present condition, and I had it. I could go 100, and I was trying to stay at 80. We were working on another deal. He really has an affinity for this guitar, so we are going to proceed. I have an email back here listing stuff, and I think I've covered everything, so we're going to shut off and get ready to take the back off. We're back. We're back. These are an assortment of back removal tools, glue breakers. There's a table knife. This is some kind of a kitchen utensil. I'm not sure. Most of these are palette knives. This one's rather thick. The handle's broken on this because it was one of my favorites and it got leveraged. So these are palette knives. You can find sets of them on Amazon. There's your primary tools, any and all shapes. As we've said before, we're going to listen for the sound of hide glue breaking. It's like a snick snick. If this thing has seen some water damage, it'll help. And the main thing to look out for here when you're taking the back off is to make sure you're not digging into the grain. And wherever there's a brace on the back, this plan stops working. They tuck the braces in religiously, and that's why it's not broken away. It's broken away here and it's broken away here. You can bet there's a brace right inside, way up there. Son of a gun. Just maybe not. Anyway, we're going to try to break this loose in any and all ways possible. Some major areas of concern are usually here at the tail block, the end pin block, that is. We haven't heard any snicking yet. We will. There's a little bit. Use lots of different tools. There. Ooh, hear that? A little snick there. It's breaking nicely. Breaking loose nicely. Excuse me. At any point, it may decide to veer off and into disaster land. The guitar gods are with us this evening. We've hit a brace. So far, we've gotten beyond a couple. Oh, the glue is nice, and water damages the is our main ally here. If this hide glue or the guitar's gotten excessively damp, maybe wet, so to speak, it'll tend to weaken. And age, heat and moisture, all that. Well, it's broken loose. So nice. I took the back off of a Harmony Dreadnought, a like late 60s. Had a picture of wood top. Highly collectible picture of wood top. Got it off in 20 minutes. This is a little bit better bonding here, but it seems to be happy to let go. You can see why this tool has been used so much. The handle's broken from it. The production values here are low. These are just conceptual episodes of what could be done if someone would like to sponsor some organization like Reverb. This guitar came from a social network that basically grows up around Reverb. This guy saw my work and contacted me. And I may actually give Reverb a commission in the process. Pitch this to them. It's still just coming apart so nicely. We're going to just keep filming this unless or until we hit a disaster. And then I'm not going to tell you if I make a mistake. So far, this thing is just cooperating. At some point, rather than bore you with this, I'm getting to one place here where it's hard, so it's a good time to shut it off. I'm going to opt to turn the camera off and rejoin our hero at his next struggle. The struggles happen on this block. It's glued massively, and on this block, and indeed I have met resistance there. But Jesus, this thing is criminy. This thing is still coming apart. Gloves on both hands aren't a bad idea. This thing is about 0.010 of an inch thick. These things tend to break or bend, and we like them to be straight to break in these places without eating into wood where we're not planning on that happening. Just tried to do it there, but I've averted the tragedy. Okay, we're almost done, and I'm going to gauge what kind of a struggle we have here before we come back. Again, this area here is known to be trouble. So the back's coming off pretty good, and there's no broken pieces yet, and we heard that of the hide glue. Okay. So these precision tools here, this is a paintbrush I use to dust things off, and this is something I grab because it has a handle. What I'm doing is I've gotten it loose everywhere. The braces have remained intact. They've come untucked easily, but the grain is running this way. If I was to try to pre-stress it this way, it would want to crack. And there's already an existing crack in the wood that goes like to here. You can see there's dirt down in it. I did not make the crack. So anyway, I'm trying to fudge some extra tension into this glue joint to help it decide to come apart. It's the very last piece of this adventure. And anyway, I've pre-tensioned it in hopes to get it to want to come apart, and as yet it doesn't. So anyway, it's a trick. What you might say, there we go, just like that. Ha! How nice, right on cue. what you might say is that it's all a trick. It's not. It's experience. Some kind of a minor issue here that I haven't quite. I think it has to do with it. Hey. There it is. We have a slight problem here. This could be part of its problem of whatever. It's a clean break here. We say the label's fine. The bracing is fine. It's broken loose here, and it's probably been broken loose for 50 years. Right here. You can kind of see where there basically never was any glue. Haha. This one's broken loose. This didn't happen during my surgery. These little breaks here on the end, you can assume did. Many of these braces, here's partial. There's only partial glue there. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, these things were built fast. Harmonies, K's, and Regals, Oscar Schmidt, you would not believe these guys were frantic. Here's the traditional dust bunny. There are collectors of dust bunnies from vintage guitars. This could be worth like 80 bucks. If I could verify them, never mind. Here's your bridge plate, massive bridge plate. Here's the one main brace. Here's a crack. That crack's been there forever. It's got dirt and dust and stuff that's fallen down through. Here's another crack, and that crack runs. This is all birch. The origin of this wood. When's the last time you saw people carrying around 14-inch wide pieces of birch? Think carefully about what this wood is. What this wood is. Think carefully about the grain pattern, where you may have seen it before. The origin of these solid birch guitars. The term solid, haha. Anyway, we'll remove this. We'll remove the braces. We may keep this depending on the geometry back here. We'll flatten this over a period of a day, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. We'll make a really good attempt at flattening it, and after it's flat, the customer wants X bracing. We can do this. What I like to do is make the bracing out of the old ones if I can get long enough ones. Try to save these. If they don't want to come out easily, they get chopped out so that there's no stress to the top of the guitar. See these glue drips? Make them fast, make them fast. See the squeeze out all around the bottom there of the end pin block. This is a very typical guitar, very typical for the era. Anyway, we got the back off, and it's going to be on a video. Howdy. I've been working on this for 20 minutes or so. It'll be harder to get the bridge off than it was to get the back off. It may have been re-glued with tight bond or some kind of epoxy. I've gotten it all the way to here by using the same tools as before. Keep in mind this is going to get refinished, and that I'm being very careful not to really hurt the wood at all. Anyway, we'll continue around here. And indeed, we will Howdy, I'm back. This will protect the top. I'm trying to get the bridge off. It's in the wrong place. Doesn't have a slant on the saddle, and lots of others. I'm using the same tools as on the side, and I've been lucky enough. This thing may have been re-glued with something else. It is coming loose with the snap, and anyway, there are these same processes of sticking underneath. Looks like we're not broken. Well, we are, okay. Anyway, again, I'm building up force with this thicker tool. It seems to have hit something. Sometimes these people will throw a pin in, otherwise known as a nail or something, as a locator, sort of like tooling. Anyway, I'm working this around. There's a crack in the bridge. A small crack. Airline crack. It's going to have some effect. I'll try to work around it. Anyway, this is a similar process. Wow, it's decided to come on. Similar process. Yep, there's a tooling nail right there. You can bet on it. A pin, I believe. Yep. Oh, it may be free now. Ha ha, yes, it was not. Or, anyway, no longer this kind of monkeys and footballs. Building up force. It's a matter of, hey! It was a clean break, ladies and gentlemen, and you witnessed it. You must live fearlessly. This is not my guitar. You see, I did this, and it may have been high glue. I don't know. Anyway, it came off, and we'll be moderating this. And again, it might almost be better to leave these in, flatten it, and restore it, but it would want to bend again if we have to put another brace in. We're going to remove this brace and this plate, because this plate is going to restrict the ability of this to get back to somewhere, and this having been bent, it's not going to help us. So, using these same tools, I will start to probe around just to get an idea of how good or bad these things are in, the bridge plate being one thing. Well, and again, as I said before, if there's any question about what's going to happen on removing these, they'll get eaten away, as opposed to trying to save it. This piece of wood's been hacked already. Again, anything I do to this, I'm trying to not hurt this. So, I'm going to mess around with this. It looks like it's all well glued. I'll take big nippers and chop that away, and if I decide to do that, if I have to do it. There's a lot of glue on here. There's a lot of what appears to be hide glue. And it's not going to give up without a fight, so we might just get rid of it. This one may or may not stay. This will have to go to give us a chance to flatten it. The jig we've seen before, if you haven't, you will soon, accommodates this, and I can put a hole in the fixture to accommodate that. Let's call it a fixture. Right now the fixture's got a hole for a ukulele. I haven't had to do this because I'm always putting on a pyramid bridge, a new bridge. Usually these things have not had a bridge. They use the tailpiece and floating bridge and sound terrible. We're looking at saving this. We might make it look good, but I like the way it looks. It's old and has potential to come back and look real good, but not lose any of this patina, but have it integrated into what looks like a timeless finish, which is one of my trademarks. Well, thanks for watching. I'm going to email the fella and see if he wants to get some previews of the impending episode of Ed's Guitar Heaven. Thank you very much. It came out. It was pretty chewed up and weak there. But it came out. It left a little piece of itself there. Now, this is kind of a little less protective. I'm starting to eat in under here. I'm going to carve these tucked in braces away from the kerfing and hope I can pop that out like I got that out. We're headed for this one. The process, I broke it loose and started getting it loose here, and it's breaking along a sort of non-parallel grain. These things weren't the highest quality, so that brings these into play. These are the nippers you use to remove frets with. They're kind of a specialty tool, but they were adapted from electronics. They're flush cutters. Now, I'm usually working on this flat. It's losing its support, so I have to be careful. But basically, I'm chopping, removing, but making sure I don't ever take any of the top with it. You can see the grain of the piece of wood was slanted and not really parallel. Anyway, I'll continue that process. Just kind of brute force and stupidity. When it gets close, I'll use this tool. That's what I've used to remove that piece you saw in the earlier clip. This is a wide blade X-Acto knife. It's my friend. It's at my side all the time. You develop a relationship with certain tools. These two. All right. Well, I've used the brace muncher. Once you get this thing going, man, we munched them away. This is all the debris. Basically, those are the two braces. There. Those are the two braces that we removed surgically. And there's not one mark left on this top. We didn't eat through or lift up any part. There's a little vestige left here that'll get, this will all get sanded smooth so as to present a continuous surface for pushing down with the now famous Graviton Force modules. We'll be introducing you to the Graviton Force modules soon as we place this in the fixture that will hopefully flatten this thing out. Whoop-diddy.